HOA Karen attacked my pregnant wife. She didn't know I was watching live. Our HOA president, Karen, couldn't stand seeing my pregnant wife sitting on our front porch. One afternoon, she came storming over to our house, screaming about rule violations. What Karen didn't realize was that my security camera was recording everything in real time. I sat in my office upstairs and watched in complete horror as she grabbed Emma's arm and tried to physically drag her out of the chair. My wife let out a scream of pain, her hands flying to protect her belly. Our baby's life hung in the balance, and Karen had no idea I was watching every single second unfold. Before you watch this full story, please comment below and let me know which country you're watching from. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories like this one. The summer heat pressed down on our little community of Maple Grove like a heavy, suffocating blanket. It was the kind of heat that made everything feel harder, more exhausting. I sat at my desk in my home office on the second floor, staring at my computer screen, trying my best to focus on the quarterly report that was spread out in front of me. But I'll be honest with you, concentration was nearly impossible that day. My mind kept wandering downstairs to the woman I loved more than life itself. My wife Emma was on our front porch, 7 months pregnant with our first child, a little girl we'd already named Lily. But this wasn't just any normal pregnancy. Emma wasn't just pregnant, she was fighting for every single day, every single hour. 3 weeks before that terrible day, Dr. Chen had delivered news that absolutely shattered our world into a million tiny pieces. Emma had developed severe preeclampsia. For those of you who might not know, preeclampsia is a serious condition where the mother's blood pressure shoots up to dangerously high levels. It threatens both the mother's life and the baby's life. Dr. Chen's voice had been grave and unyielding when she explained what we were facing. Emma needs complete bed rest, she'd told us, looking us both straight in the eye. She cannot experience any stress whatsoever. No physical exertion of any kind. No emotional upheaval. Nothing that could spike her blood pressure. Then came the words that still haunt me to this day. One spike in her blood pressure could trigger seizures or organ failure. It could force us to deliver the baby immediately. At 7 months, your daughter's survival chances would be seriously compromised. Do you both understand what I'm telling you, Mr. Morrison? Any significant stress could kill them both. Those words whispered through my dreams every single night. They turned every breath into a silent prayer. Every moment became precious and terrifying all at once. So Emma spent her days confined to our home. And let me tell you, the prison of those 4 walls was slowly crushing her spirit. My wife was and still is a woman who loved gardens and long walks through the neighborhood. She thrived on sunshine and fresh air. Being cooped up inside felt cruel and inhumane, like we were punishing her for being sick. So I'd worked out a compromise. I set up our front porch like a little sanctuary for her. I put out our most comfortable lounge chair with extra cushions to support her aching back and her swollen ankles. I set up a small side table within easy reach, keeping it stocked with cold water, healthy snacks, and the books she could never quite seem to focus on anymore. I even put up an umbrella to shield her from the harsh afternoon sun. And here's the part that ended up saving everything. I installed a security camera. It was one of those smart cameras with crystal clear video quality, 2-way audio so I could talk to Emma from upstairs, and motion detection that sent alerts straight to my phone. I could check on her anytime while I worked upstairs. Make sure she was comfortable. Make sure she was safe. That camera would end up saving everything that mattered to us. It was a Thursday afternoon, the kind of day where the heat shimmered off the pavement in waves and made the air feel as thick as soup. I was reviewing a particularly boring spreadsheet when my phone buzzed on my desk. The camera's motion sensor had been triggered. I glanced down at the notification on my phone, expecting to see a delivery person dropping off a package or our neighbor's cat wandering across our porch like it often did. Instead, what I saw made my blood turn to absolute ice. A woman stood on our porch. Even through that small phone screen, I could practically see the rage radiating from her like heat waves off hot asphalt. Karen Holbrook, the HOA president. The absolute bane of our existence for the past 8 months. Let me tell you about Karen. She was in her late 50s, with steel gray hair, cut in a severe bob that looked like it could cut glass. She had thin lips that seemed permanently pursed in disapproval, and eyes that could freeze lava. She wore her position as HOA president like it was a crown, wielding that HOA rulebook like a weapon against anyone who dared step even slightly out of line. Karen had made our lives miserable for months, with petty violations and ridiculous fines. But what she was about to do would cross a line that could never be uncrossed. And every second was being recorded. Our grass was a quarter-inch too tall 1 week. Citation and fine. Our mailbox was painted black instead of the approved charcoal gray. Another citation and fine. We'd planted some beautiful roses in our front garden without submitting the proper landscaping modification form first. You guessed it, citation and fine. Emma had accidentally left our welcome mat outside past 8 o'clock one evening. Yet another citation and fine. Every single week brought a new violation, a new fine, a new battle to fight. I'd learned to mostly ignore Karen, to just pay the ridiculous fines and move on with our lives. We had bigger things to worry about, but this time was different. This wasn't about grass height or mailbox colors. This was about my pregnant wife with a life-threatening medical condition. I turned up the volume on my phone, and Karen's voice filled my office like poisonous gas seeping under the door. "I don't care what your doctor says," Karen was shrieking. "You're violating HOA Code 7.3. Subsection B, no loitering on front porches between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. It creates an unsightly appearance and degrades property values for the entire neighborhood. You need to get inside immediately." Then I heard Emma's voice come through the speaker. It was weak and trembling, and hearing that fear in her tone made something absolutely primal and violent wake up deep inside me. "Mrs. Holbrook, please," Emma pleaded. "I'm not loitering. I'm just sitting here. I'm 7 months pregnant. I have severe preeclampsia. My doctor says I need bed rest, but she also said I need fresh air and sunlight for the baby's health. I can't stay locked inside all day long. I'll go insane. Please, I'm not hurting anyone. The rules exist for everyone." Karen shrieked back, her face turning an alarming shade of purple that I could see even on my phone screen. "I don't care if you're pregnant with quintuplets. Rules are rules. Property values are property values. You are making this entire neighborhood look like a slum with your constant porch sitting. I've received 3 complaints from other residents about your loitering." That was a complete lie. I knew it was a lie with absolute certainty. Our neighbors loved Emma. They'd been bringing her home-cooked meals and checking on her constantly since her diagnosis. The only person who had a problem with Emma sitting on our porch was Karen herself. "Mrs. Holbrook, I'm begging you," Emma said, and I could hear the tears starting in her voice. "Please don't make me go inside. The doctor specifically said fresh air is important for me and the baby. I promise I'm not violating any rules. I'm just sitting here. I'm not bothering a single soul." "You're bothering me," Karen screamed. "And as HOA president, that's all that matters. Now get up and get inside before I have you forcibly removed and your house fined $1,000. I was already running. I slammed my laptop shut so hard I'm surprised I didn't break it. I bolted from my office, taking the stairs 3 at a time, my heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to escape from my chest. The phone was still clutched in my hand, the camera feed still playing, and what I saw next stopped my heart completely. "Ma'am, please, please, don't touch me." Emma's voice rose in panic on my phone. Karen reached forward, her face twisted with self-righteous fury, and grabbed Emma's arm. Time seemed to slow down to an agonizing crawl. I watched through that tiny screen as Karen's fingers clamped around my wife's bicep like a vice grip. I watched Emma try to pull away, her other hand flying protectively to her swollen belly. I watched Karen yank hard, trying to physically haul my pregnant wife out of her chair. "Let go of me." Emma screamed, and there was real terror in her voice now. "You'll move when I say you'll move," Karen shrieked back, pulling even harder. I was flying through the house now, crashing through the living room, knocking into furniture. My vision was tinged with red. I could hear Emma crying through my phone. I could hear Karen's voice rising to an absolutely manic pitch. Every single second felt like an eternity. I burst through our front door like an explosion. "Get your goddamn hands off my wife," I roared. Karen spun around, her face still purple with rage, her hand still gripping Emma's arm tightly. Emma's eyes found mine, and they were filled with tears and terror, and something else that made my stomach drop: pain, real physical pain. "Mr. Morrison, your wife is in clear violation of," Karen started. I said, "Get OFF." I closed the distance in 3 massive strides, and physically put myself between them, breaking Karen's grip on Emma's arm. My hands were shaking. Every muscle in my body was coiled like a spring, ready to snap. "Don't you ever, ever touch her again. Don't you ever come near her again. David, David." "Something's wrong," Emma gasped behind me, her breathing rapid and shallow. My heart just stopped, completely stopped beating for what felt like forever. I turned to look at her, and the blood drained from my face. Emma was as pale as a ghost. Her lips had taken on a bluish tint, and both her hands were pressed firmly against her belly. Tears were streaming down her face in rivers. "What, baby? What's wrong?" I knelt beside her chair immediately, taking her ice-cold hands in mine. "It hurts. The baby, Oh God, David, it hurts so much. Something's wrong with Lily." Her voice climbed to a panicked sob, and I watched in absolute horror as her whole body began to tremble uncontrollably. This was exactly what the doctor had warned us about: the stress that could kill them both. And it was happening right before my eyes. The race to save my wife and daughter had just begun, and every second counted. "We're going to the hospital right now," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, even though I was terrified. "Hold on, baby. Just hold on." I started to lift her as gently as I possibly could, cradling her despite my shaking hands. "She's faking." Karen's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "She's just being dramatic to get out of the citation. I know her type: manipulative, lazy, always looking for special treatment just because she's pregnant. Well, pregnancy doesn't exempt anyone from HOA rules." I turned on her. I don't know what Karen saw on my face at that moment, but she actually stumbled backward, her eyes going wide with what might have been fear. "If anything happens to my wife or my daughter because of what you just did," I said, my voice low and deadly calm, "I will destroy you. I will make sure everyone everyone knows exactly what you did here today." My camera caught every single second of this, every word you said, every moment you had your hands on her. The video is already backed up to the cloud. "You're done, Karen. Done." For the first time since I'd known her, Karen Holbrook looked uncertain, maybe even afraid. I didn't wait around for her response. I carried Emma to our car as carefully as I could, and placed her as gently as possible in the passenger seat. Then I drove to the hospital like an absolute maniac. I ran red lights. I drove on the shoulder when traffic was too slow. I kept one hand on Emma's leg the entire time while she cried and cradled her belly, whispering desperately to our daughter, "Hold on, Lily. Please hold on, sweet girl. Mommy loves you so much. Daddy loves you so much. Please be okay." The emergency room was absolute chaos when we arrived. The moment I carried Emma through those sliding glass doors, nurses swarmed around us like bees. Someone grabbed a wheelchair. Someone else was shouting for Dr. Chen. They whisked Emma away down a hallway, and I was left standing there in the waiting area, my shirt soaked through with sweat, my hands still trembling, feeling more helpless than I'd ever felt in my entire life. Dr. Chen appeared about 15 minutes later. Those 15 minutes felt like 15 years. Her face was grave, and when she looked at me, I saw something in her eyes that made my knees weak. "Mr. Morrison, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you, she said. Emma's blood pressure is 180 over 120 right now. That's stroke territory. That's life-threatening. The physical altercation and the stress from the assault have triggered a severe hypertensive crisis. Her body is starting to shut down. We're doing everything we possibly can to stabilize her, but I need to be completely honest with you. If we can't get her blood pressure down in the next 2 hours, we'll have absolutely no choice but to perform an emergency C-section. But the baby, Lily, she's only 7 months along, I stammered. I know. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. At 30 weeks, her chances of survival are actually pretty good, but she'll need extensive NICU care for weeks, maybe months. There could be complications, respiratory problems, developmental delays, infections, a whole host of issues. But if we don't deliver her, and Emma's blood pressure keeps rising like this, we could lose them both. Do you understand what I'm telling you? The hallway tilted sideways. I grabbed the wall to keep myself from falling down. Do whatever you need to do. I managed to say whatever it takes. Just save them, please. I'm begging you. Save my wife. Save my daughter. Dr. Chen squeezed my shoulder. We're going to fight like hell for them. Emma's strong. So is Lily. But I need you to prepare yourself for the possibility that this might not end the way we all want it to. Those words nearly destroyed me right there in that hospital hallway. The next 2 hours would determine whether my wife and daughter lived or died. And all because one woman was obsessed with HOA rules. But I had one thing Karen didn't know about evidence. That would make sure she paid for what she'd done. They let me sit with Emma after they'd stabilized her enough to move her to a private room. She looked so impossibly small in that hospital bed, absolutely swallowed by white sheets and attached to what seemed like a dozen different machines. Monitors beeped steadily. 4 fluid dripped clear liquid into her arm. A blood pressure cuff inflated and deflated every 15 minutes, with a soft whooshing sound automatically. Emma's eyes were closed, her face drawn in gray, if all the life had been drained out of her. I took her hand, it was so cold, so terribly cold, and pressed my forehead against it. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I should have been faster. I should have stopped her before she ever laid a hand on you. This is all my fault. Emma's eyes fluttered open slowly. Not your fault. Her voice was barely audible, like she was speaking from very far away. You saved me. You came when I needed you. You have to fight, Emma, I said, tears running down my face. You and Lily both have to fight. I can't lose you. I just can't. You're my whole world. Both of you are my entire world. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Scared, she whispered. So scared, David. I know, baby. I know you are. But you're the strongest person I've ever met in my life. You're going to get through this. We all are. But as I sat there holding her cold hand and listening to all those machines monitoring her failing body, I wasn't entirely sure I believed my own words. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every time one of those machines beeped, my heart stopped. Every time a nurse came into the room, I braced myself for the worst news imaginable. Emma drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling sometimes, crying sometimes, but always with one hand protectively on her belly, trying to soothe our daughter through her own pain. At the 3-hour mark, Dr. Chen came in to check Emma's vitals. Her expression was carefully neutral, but I'd learned to read the subtle signs, the tightness around her eyes, the way she pressed her lips together before speaking. How is she? I asked, my voice hoarse from not speaking for so long. Her blood pressure is starting to come down, slowly, very slowly. We're at 165 over 110 now. Still dangerous, definitely still in the danger zone, but it's moving in the right direction. Is Lily okay? I held my breath, waiting for the answer. Dr. Chen moved over to the fetal monitor and studied the readout for what felt like forever. Lily's heart rate is elevated, but it's steady. She's stressed. Her mother's stress hormones are flooding her system, but she's hanging in there. She's a fighter, just like her mom. like both her parents, Dr. Chen corrected me gently. Then she asked me something that changed everything. Mr. Morrison, I need to ask you something important. What exactly happened before you brought Emma in today? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and showed her the video. Dr. Chen watched in complete silence, her expression growing darker and darker with each passing second. When the video ended, she looked at me with something like fury blazing in her eyes. This woman assaulted your wife, a pregnant woman who was on bed rest for a life-threatening condition. She could have killed them both. I know, I said quietly. You need to report this to the police immediately, Dr. Chen said firmly. This isn't just an HOA dispute anymore, Mr. Morrison. This is assault. This is possibly attempted manslaughter, if the DA wants to push it that far. And based on what I just watched, they should. I will, I promised. As soon as I know Emma and Lily are safe. Dr. Chen nodded approvingly. Keep that video safe. And Mr. Morrison, for what it's worth, you did everything right today. You got her here in time. That might very well be what saves them both. At the 6-hour mark, a miracle happened. Emma's blood pressure dropped to 150/100. Still high, still concerning, but out of the immediate danger zone. At the 8-hour mark, it hit 140/95. At the 10th-hour mark, Dr. Chen came in with something that almost looked like a smile on her face. We're at 135/90, she announced. She's stabilizing. We're definitely not out of the woods yet, not by a long shot, but this is a very, very good sign. I could have collapsed with relief right there on the floor. Instead, I buried my face in Emma's shoulder and cried for the first time since this entire nightmare had begun. Emma's hand came up weakly to stroke my hair. We're okay, she whispered. We're going to be okay, David. Emma and Lily were going to survive, but my fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. Now it was time to make sure Karen faced justice for what she'd done, and the video evidence I had would shock everyone who saw it. They kept Emma in the hospital for 12 long days. 12 days of constant monitoring, medication adjustments, and strictly restricted visitors. 12 days of me sleeping in the world's most uncomfortable chair beside her bed, refusing to leave except to shower and change clothes at home. 12 days of watching Emma's belly continue to grow, feeling Lily kick against my hand, and praying that we'd get to meet her under much better circumstances. During those 12 days, I took action. First, I went straight to the police station and filed a formal criminal report. The officer who took my statement watched the security camera video 3 times, his expression growing more and more disgusted with each viewing. This is honestly one of the clearest cases of assault I've ever seen in my career, he said, shaking his head. With this video evidence, and your wife's medical records documenting the harm that was caused, the DA will definitely press charges. I'd be absolutely shocked if this doesn't end in a conviction. Good, I said coldly. I want her prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Next, I contacted a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Marcus Chen, who happened to be the best personal injury attorney in our entire state. I'd gone to college with his younger brother. When I explained our situation and showed him the video, his eyes actually lit up. David, this is a slam dunk case, he said, already taking notes. We're talking assault, emotional distress, endangered welfare of a child, medical expenses, lost wages. We're looking at significant damages here, both criminal and civil. This woman is going down hard. I don't care about the money, Marcus, I told him honestly. I care about justice. You'll get both, he promised me. I guarantee it. Then I turned my attention to what you call the court of public opinion. Late one night, while Emma slept peacefully for the first time in days, I sat in her hospital room with my laptop and wrote out a detailed post. I attached the video all 5 minutes and 32 seconds of I-10, wrote a simple, factual account of exactly what had happened to my wife and unborn daughter. I posted it to our neighborhood Facebook group first, then to our city's main community page. Then, to every single local community forum I could find online. The title was simple and direct: "Our HOA president assaulted my pregnant wife." This is what happened. I watched the post go live, and then I closed my laptop. I didn't want to see the responses yet. I just wanted to sit with Emma and feel grateful. So incredibly grateful that she was still breathing, that Lily was still moving inside her, that we were all still here together. By morning, the post had absolutely exploded. What happened next went far beyond anything I could have imagined. The video I posted would be seen by millions, and Karen's life would never be the same. Stay with me. Need to hear how this ends. My phone was on fire with notifications. The Facebook post had been shared over 500 times already. The comment section was completely filled with outrage, support, and calls for Karen's immediate resignation. People were tagging local news stations in the comments. Someone had even started a change.org petition to remove Karen from the HOA board permanently. It already had over 1,000 signatures. The local news picked up the story by noon that same day. By evening, it had gone regional. By the next morning, it had gone national. Pregnant woman, assaulted by HOA president over porch, sitting. Read the headlines everywhere. The video played on loop on news channels, accompanied by interviews with medical experts, explaining in detail how dangerous Emma's condition was, and how Karen's actions could have easily killed both her and our baby. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanted interviews. Neighbors wanted to express their support. The HOA board members, everyone, except Karen, called to apologize and assure me that action was being taken. One call stood out. It was from Janet Reeves, the HOA vice president. "Mr. Morrison, I'm calling on behalf of the entire board to offer our deepest, most sincere apologies for what happened to your wife," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We've held an emergency meeting. Karen Holbrook has been removed as president, effective immediately. We're also voting to dissolve several of the more absurd rules she implemented, including anything related to front porch usage." "Thank you," I said, my voice hard. "But I want more than her removal. I want her in jail." "Many of us do too," Janet said quietly. "You have our full support." Emma came home on day 12 with strict orders for continued bed rest. When we turned onto our street, we both gasped. Our front porch was absolutely covered in flowers, cards, balloons, and gifts. There were dozens of bouquets, stuffed animals for Lily, and care packages with meals and snacks. A huge banner hung across our porch reading, "We love you, Emma and baby Lily." In rainbow letters. Neighbors stood on their lawns, and as our car passed, they applauded. Emma burst into tears. "I can't believe this. Everyone loves you," I said, my own voice thick with emotion. Karen's house, just 5 doors down, stood dark and silent. A for sale sign had appeared on her lawn. The curtains were drawn. It looked abandoned, empty, dead. The criminal trial was about to begin, and Karen had no idea just how damaging that video evidence would be. What happens in that courtroom will leave you speechless. The criminal case moved forward with surprising speed. The DA assigned it to a prosecutor named Rachel Kim, a woman with a reputation for taking assault cases seriously. "This is personal for me," she told us during our first meeting. "I'm pregnant with my second child. When I watched that video, when I saw what she did to you, Emma, I wanted to scream. No one has the right to put their hands on a pregnant woman, period. I'm going to throw the book at her." The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution's case was airtight. They played the video for the jury multiple times. They called Dr. Chen as an expert witness, and she explained in excruciating medical detail how close we'd come to losing both Emma and Lily. "In my professional opinion," Dr. Chen testified, looking directly at Karen, "Mrs. Holbrook's actions created an immediate and life-threatening medical emergency. The assault directly caused the hypertensive crisis. Without it, Emma Morrison and her baby would have been fine that day. With it, they nearly died." Karen's face went pale. "I testified to," walking the jury through everything that had happened. When I described watching helplessly on that camera as Karen grabbed my wife, several jurors had tears in their eyes. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: assault, reckless endangerment, and inflicting emotional distress. Karen collapsed in her seat, sobbing. I felt empty, not happy, not vindicated, just tired. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The courtroom was packed. Emma came this time, with Lily in her arms. I'd asked her to stay home, but she'd insisted. I need to see this, she'd said quietly. I need to know it's really over. The judge looked at Karen with cold contempt. Mrs. Holbrook, in my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such a clear case of someone abusing their position of authority to harm another person, he said. You assaulted a pregnant woman with a documented life-threatening medical condition. You did this over something as trivial as where she chose to sit on her own property. Your actions nearly resulted in 2 deaths. Karen was sentenced to 1 year in county jail and ordered to pay $375,000 in restitution for medical expenses, lost wages, and emotional distress. The gavel came down with a sharp crack that echoed through the courtroom. It's over, Emma whispered, squeezing my hand. It's over, I agreed. Emma made it to 38 weeks. On a Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m., Lily Rose Morrison entered the world, healthy and perfect at 6 pounds, 2 ounces. When the nurse placed her on Emma's chest, and Lily opened her eyes for the first time, I felt my entire world shift. This tiny, perfect life, this was what mattered. This was what Karen had almost stolen from us. We never moved from that house. It's our home. Emma sits on that porch every evening now, with Lily on her lap, watching the sunset. No one bothers us. No one complains. Our neighbors wave and smile, and stop to chat about normal things. The security camera still sits there, mounted on our porch, still recording, just in case. That little red light blinks steadily in the darkness, still watching, still protecting us. Karen served 8 months before being released on parole. I heard she moved out of state, changing her name and starting over. Part of me hoped she found redemption. Part of me didn't care. The HOA dissolved 6 months after the trial. Enough residents were fed up that they voted to end it entirely. Our neighborhood became just that, a neighborhood, not a prison. We put most of the restitution money into a college fund for Lily. Some we donated to organizations supporting higher-risk pregnancies. We wanted something good to come from all that pain. On Lily's first birthday, we threw a big party in our backyard. No HOA rules. No citations. Just family, friends, laughter, and a little girl smashing birthday cake all over her face, while her mother and I watched with tears of joy. That night, after everyone had gone home and Lily was asleep, Emma and I sat on our porch, that same porch where everything had almost ended. Do you ever think about that day? Emma asked. Every day, I admitted. Me too. Sometimes, I wake up panicking, feeling her hand on my arm again. I pulled Emma closer. But we're here. We made it. All 3 of us. Because you saved us, she whispered. That camera saved us. It gave us justice. It did more than that, I said. It saved your lives. It made sure the truth couldn't be buried. We sat in comfortable silence, just breathing, just being alive together. And for the first time since that terrible day, I felt truly at peace. Justice had been served. But more importantly, we had survived. We had fought back. We had won. And we would never, ever take a single moment for granted again. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories. And let me know in the comments, have you ever dealt with a nightmare HOA president? I'd love to hear your experiences. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.